Pirates return a familiar and long-awaited player from the IL. Ben Cherington added to his deadline comments on Sunday, and we'll look back at a Rockies series. That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. We have to discuss Ben Cherington's comments on Sunday on his radio show, the weekend series against the Rockies, and let's look forward to the Giants series with a returning starting pitcher from the IL, Johan Oviedo. That's going to happen tonight, so jump right back into it. These comments, honestly, they were basically furthering or maybe even pushing a little bit on some of his answers that came in the press conference that immediately followed. Unfortunately, this is one of those team-sponsored interviews that Ben Cherington does that the team is asking questions of themselves, basically. Okay, so they're not blind to your criticism. They see this stuff online. They're not deaf to things that people like me are saying or Dayon or any of the other people covering the Pirates. They hear it. They see it. They get told about it. They know about it. They know what the players think, including Paul Skeens, who had some pretty sharp comments of his own about not knowing the plan, but trusting there is one. I mean, that's kind of not the greatest thing that you want to hear come out of that room, but that's what came out of that room. So these questions, yeah, they're asked by Joe Block. Do you expect him to push hard? No. But did he ask for follow-ups on things that maybe were a little bit vague? Yeah, he did. Don't get me wrong. Ben Cherington knows they're coming. There is nothing genuine about these interviews. But in many ways, when he does say something that, I don't know, smells like the truth or gives you a glimpse underneath the skirt a little bit when he does these interviews, I guess in some ways, you know at least he didn't get caught flat-footed. This wasn't just a slip of the tongue. This wasn't like somebody asked a question that caught him off guard and he suddenly is coming up with something and doing the Texas two-step in front of the media. This is a team-friendly source. They can hit the pause button anytime they want, and Joe Block can go, hey, Ben, I'm going to ask you this, so just be ready. And Ben can go, okay. And he can get his perfectly crafted, PR-prepared message out. Unfortunately, the Pirates are terrible at that. And I think sometimes his questions actually end up getting more than the journalists do. In their preparedness, sometimes they overshare. So let's start with at the beginning here. Let's get right into it with Brian Hayes, because that was one of the more controversial trades. And I thought this quote stood out, and I've seen other people talk about it too, but it's worth bringing up. We would never make a trade in order to save money. That's never part of the calculus. That's impossible. It's impossible for that to be a true statement. I can understand ways that he could get around it. Okay. Like we talked in the last show about the $43.1 million extra that they'll probably have if they just move off of the guys that are on last year of their deals and the guys they've already traded and the few guys that they might not want to retain from that. And we came up with that figure. Now, if that figure gets spent in any way, shape, or form, this is a true statement. And he's able to say, yeah, it had nothing to do with money. But you know it did. You know it did. You know that everything this market does has an element of money. Everything this franchise does has money as part of their calculus. There'd be no reason to trade some of the pieces that they've traded over the years if money wasn't a calculus. There'd be no reason to be afraid to let Jamison Tyon pitch one of his last years of arbitration as a Pittsburgh Pirate way back when to maybe see if you could get a little bit more value into the player before trading him off, if money wasn't part of the calculus, because they were afraid to spend that money on someone that might not be able to pitch. So on its face, it's just not a true statement. It isn't. He said on reinvesting payroll, if we're trading players with salary, just about 100% of the time that money is going to go back into payroll. Again, here's a technical truth. Payroll has increased every year from 2021 on. It has. Not much, not enough, but it has. So you can't get him on this statement. This is true. They have reallocated just about 100% of every dollar they've saved back into the payroll. That's true. Doesn't mention that they started too low in the first place. Doesn't matter that they're not investing enough. Doesn't matter that you shouldn't always have to rob Peter to pay Paul. It just is true. Sometimes that truth is scary in and of itself, but that's where that is. On roster strategy, he said there are going to be places on the roster where we take a shot and invest money. More often than not, going to be on a position player or a starting pitcher. Of course. Those would be your options, right? Pitcher or position player. I love when he lists all the possible ways you could go and considers it an answer. We understand what you're doing here with the roster. We get it. And we understand you're going to take shots. Our contention as fans is we would like you to take one or two bigger shots and stop making 5, 6, 7 small attempts to fix something that needs something bigger, needs something more sure, needs something that costs money on the surface. And the risk is maybe injury at worst, because you're pretty sure you're going to get something out of that player. His next quote on trading David Bednar, he said it was a tough call. Very hard, but also clear. We felt that this was the right thing for the Pirates. And I would say, really, I can see it. The value's right. The value's right. The timing's not right. He talked about they simply believe in the process we have internally. It's even more precise and more predictive than the external ones. This is, again, Ben Cherington talking about their internal system being better than the outside system. This wraps in a lot of things. All of the different prospect ranking systems out there, like Baseball America, or, well, you name them. You know them, MLB Pipeline. You know all the different services out there. What Ben Cherington is saying is, like, just because Baseball America said somebody is a number 6 prospect, that doesn't mean that our individual super awesome, better than anyone evaluation tools don't say that that player is better than that. That's what he's getting at here. Now, I don't know how you say something like that 6 years into something like this, because your own special brand of evaluation hasn't worked, hasn't produced fruit, hasn't made any of the previous scouts look stupid. In fact, the only one player that I can argue your special evaluation skills brought to the forefront that wouldn't have been brought to the forefront is Bailey Falter. You found a stat extension that nobody else in the league was valuing. And you picked up a player that was really, really, really exceptional at it. 100th percentile exceptional at it. And he used it. And then 2 years later, your analytics department couldn't make sense of the fact that it was working even better than you thought it would. And you fell back to all of the underlying metrics that other teams saw in Bailey Falter before. You ignored to bring in and get something out of him because of his extension stat. And now that that's all played out, you now decide that those other stats are more important? You now decide that because you can't make heads or tails of why it's working as well as it is, that there must be something about to fall off the table? That's what happened. And this one, I can clearly say, didn't have anything to do with money. He had an opportunity here to clarify some things that happened at the deadline. Maybe even make people understand a little bit better what he planned to do in the offseason. He took neither avenue. He'll get pressed again on this next week, but let's be real. The team-owned interview, they're going to immediately transition to things like Johan Oviedo, and we're going to start talking about Spencer Horwitz heating up, and we're going to start talking about Liever Piguero looking good, and we're going to and they're going to start moving the ball forward whether we're ready for it or not. That's how the questions are going to change. This was probably the last opportunity we have directly to get him pinned down on anything that happened at the deadline. So it's important to go through those again, but I don't think we got anything out of it. When we come back, it's time to talk a little bit about that Rockies series, some standout performances, and whether we can actually count on it or not. You know, it was in Colorado. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need the extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I was on this hole the other day. It was an island shot, and all 4 of my buddies were like, we're going to make this shot. Not a single one of us made it. I wish we had had one of these 5-Hour Energies. Maybe it would have given us the boost we needed. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LockedOnGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th. On one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and a like button. Tell a friend about the show. Make sure that you're helping me grow this network as best we can. I am going to talk about this Rockies series a little bit, and I think we have to talk about leadoff thunder, right? Spencer Horwitz and Liever Piguero spark the Pirates in this wild Rockies series. Unfortunately, they only won one game in this series. And before I get into what actually happened here, I just want to talk about playing in Colorado and talking about games that happen in Colorado. I have such a hard time knowing what's real when I watch a game in Colorado. I don't know if I can count the offense. I don't know if I should be concerned about the pitching. I don't know that anything is real or fake in Colorado. I don't know what I can take from it besides the fact that the Pirates only won one game out of the three. We're going to talk about it anyway because it was still a mighty entertaining series, I think, despite the two losses. But we're going to do it. Pirates and Rockies combined for 62 runs over these three games, which is just insane. It was a classic Colorado series, and we haven't really seen that recently when we've gone out there. And while the Bucks dropped two heartbreakers, they salvaged the finale thanks to some leadoff fireworks from Spencer Horwitz. Luckily, it was my day, and it was a good win. That's all Spencer Horwitz had to say about his day. But he went 3 for 5 with 2 homers and a career-high 6 RBI in Sunday's 9-5 win. He became the first Pirates leadoff hitter with 6 RBI in a game since Andrew McCutchen in 2009. He hit a 2-run homer in the second, a 3-run blast in the sixth, and he added a 6th RBI and a ground out in the 8th. Now, Spencer, I think, would be the first to tell you his first home run was probably a Coors Field special. His second home run, however, not really a question. He really belted that ball. So, I mean, he knew he had it too. He even did, I think, the first version of a Spencer Horwitz bat flip that we've ever seen. What do we think about him in the leadoff spot? I mean, I don't mind it from his approach. I think it's better than a lot of options that they've had up there. He doesn't seem to get overly concerned with seeing a ton of pitches just for the sake of seeing a bunch of pitches. He doesn't seem to get overly concerned with hitting the ball a certain way. Like, in other words, he's not just shooting for a single. He's still going up there and swinging for the gaps. He's still going up there and swinging for the fences on occasion. I think Spencer Horwitz has really started to come along here to the point where it's probably time to stop pretending that they still need a first baseman. He may ultimately not get you to the point where he is, the playoff first baseman that you've always dreamed of. But I think I've seen enough to be convinced that he's the most promising first baseman they've brought in here as a system since Ben Cherington came. And I've liked what he's done. He plays the position really well. He has a nice, short, compact swing, which I think will keep him from dropping into deep, dark holes and really long, dry spells at the plate. It's really hard to have a simple swing like that completely defy you. You can go into cold stretches, of course, but I don't think you're just going to fall off the table. We also have to talk a little bit about Liover Peguero here because he was pretty awesome. He had this to say about the leadoff spot. He's hit some homers in there, so he passed the torch to me today. That's what Horwitz said about Peguero's performance on Saturday. Saturday, Peguero hit a leadoff homer and drove in 5 runs. He was the first Pirate to do that since RBIs became official in 1920. Pretty sweet. That made it back-to-back games where Pirates leadoff hitters had 5+ RBIs. That's the first time in Major League history. What does this say about Liover Peguero, though? Because here's a guy that has been on the 40-man roster for 4 years. The Pirates have refused to give him ample opportunity here. It hasn't happened. He's got an infectious personality. A lot of people in the room like him. He has a ton of energy. He's very energetic even in the dugout. He can play a lot of different positions. Pirates just started really doing that with him this year. But he can bounce all over the field. Third base, second base, shortstop, first base, either of the corner outfield spots. Liover Peguero can certainly be a whole lot of things for you. The bat has never profiled as much of anything in the minors, but his sample size is ridiculous. He's got well over 2,000 at-bats in the minors. You know what he is. He's gone through cold spells, hot spells. He's done it all. This probably should have happened a long time ago. The Pirates had an opening earlier this season when Nick Gonzalez got hurt, and it would have been a perfect time to bring up a guy like Liover Peguero. Instead, we spent an awful lot of time again with Jared Triolo at second base. Now they've traded Ke'Bryan Hayes, and they're spending an awful lot of time with Jared Triolo at third base. Jared Triolo has not been a prospect in the spotlight for anywhere near as long as Liover Peguero. It doesn't mean that I think either of them or both of them or whatever are going to do something grand. But it does mean that if Peguero continues to succeed up here, I think it'll be pretty clear that the Pirates kept him from being up here for quite some time. I don't think the last 3 months in the minors are what made him acceptable now and not acceptable before it. I think he's known everything he's going to know from AAA for about 2 years now. They'll be wearing egg on their face if he continues to hit like this. Don't make no mistake. Pirates scored 30 runs on 34 hits in this series, including 8 home runs. They blew a 9-run lead on Friday, twice, and a 4-run lead Saturday, showing serious bullpen vulnerability. Even Paul Skeens got touched up for his first 3-run home run. Mitch Keller gave up 3 straight homers on Sunday before Carmen Mlodzinski came in and shut the door. I'd love to be asking questions like, is the offense finally clicking? But it's Coors Field. I'd love to be talking about whether we should be concerned about the bullpen because Dennis Santana doesn't look good in Coors Field, and he's the one that's supposed to be the new closer, but it's Coors Field. It's so hard for me to say it's anything other than Coors Field. Plus, this team wildly fluctuates on how they look from series to series. The most important takeaway from this one, though, in particular, was players that are going to be here next year, or at least could be. And that's Liover Peguero, Spencer Horwitz. Those two in particular. Nick Gonzalez, too. Those guys are the ones that matter. When they do things, that's what matters. It doesn't matter that Andrew Heaney sucked in the game he pitched. He's not going to be here. It does matter like that Paul Skeens got touched. It does matter that Mitch Keller got touched. It does matter that certain elements of this bullpen let them down and couldn't keep the Rockies from amassing 17 runs to beat them 17-16. It only matters for the guys that are going to be here next year. That's what this team has done to us. That's where they put us. So when we come back, let's talk about something I think is really exciting. Johan Oviedo returning to this rotation. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. I just never bet on the Pirates. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Johan Oviedo returns to the mound for the first time in nearly 2 years. Pirates open a 3-game set against the San Francisco Giants at PNC Park. And while the matchup features 2 veteran arms in Oviedo and Justin Verlander, the real story is Oviedo's comeback. Oviedo last pitched in the majors on September 27th, 2023, capping a season where he made 32 starts, threw 177.2 innings and posted a 4.31 ERA. That December, he underwent Tommy John surgery, which sidelined him for all of 2024. And just as he was ready to return in spring of 2025, he suffered a lat strain, delaying his comeback even further. I would say something about Johan Oviedo's TJ surgery that has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. They had a almost no holds barred approach with Johan Oviedo as far as how many innings they allowed him to throw. When he became a starter, I think it was a concern that they were going to blow past his innings marks that he had set with the St. Louis Cardinals. He had been primarily a reliever for them, and the Pirates intended to turn him back into a starter, which is fine. We've seen it happen plenty of times with other players. And when you do that, you have to have a level of caution. You just got to be a little bit, maybe less aggressive with the innings, if you will. You want to slow walk them back into it. Well, they stretched him out by nearly 70 innings. And that's okay. That can be done. I'm not saying that you should never do it, but I am saying that it was a rather abrupt stretch for Johan Oviedo, and it resulted in what many see as the worst case scenario when you do that sort of thing. Nobody can directly blame it on the Pirates. Nobody ever will directly blame it on the Pirates. But it does create some questions because while they haven't had a whole lot of these, it does make you wonder if what happened with him and JT Brubaker to a degree might have something to do with the way they handle some of these younger arms as we get more and more frustrated with how they hold them back or baby them or worry about their innings so much. You know, there's only a couple pitchers that they don't really worry about their innings, and one of them is Mitch Keller. One of them is like Andrew Heaney, but Andrew Heaney's going to take care of that himself because he rarely gets past the fifth. You know, so the guys that are actually capable of giving the innings, Mitch Keller is the only one they allow to so far. They're going to have a hard time holding Paul Skeens back. They've done their best. They've done their best. In fact, I was kind of scared they were going to do it the other day. They started to Mitch Keller even. They started warming up Carmen Mlodzinski sometime in the fifth inning. At the time, Mitch Keller was pitching a shutout. Now, it turns out maybe they knew something because they sent him back out there for the sixth and he gave up those 3 straight home runs. So maybe they saw something that was kind of starting to unravel for him before we did, before there was any offensive confirmation that he was starting to lose it. Oviedo began his rehab assignment on June 30th. He made 6 starts across 4 levels, all the way from the FCL on up. His final 2 outings, he threw 5 innings each, allowed just 1 run, and struck out 5 in both games. He's reportedly built up to 62 pitches, so you can probably expect that workload to be around that or 70 tonight. Oviedo's worked on controlling his velocity, learning when to dial it up and when to conserve. It's a little bit of a sign of maturity of his growth. I am excited to see Johan pitch. I thought he was best in the rotation when he was going close to 100 just about every at bat. I'm interested to see what happens when he doesn't go close to 100. Part of this is why I thought maybe he would make a better reliever than a starter in the long run, and I still kind of feel that way. I'm interested to see him back in the lineup and the rotation and everything, but I do think ultimately his landing spot really could be in the bullpen. And we'll see this starting stretch that he's going to get here. I wouldn't worry much about the innings. I think, again, that's just caution for a guy returning from TJ and everything. But I do think that you should at least consider when he is taking some velocity off his fastball, or he's, noticeably holding something back. I think that'll be interesting. If he can learn how to get outs without going max effort, I think Oviedo has a chance to stick in the rotation. But if he has to revert to going max effort to get guys out, then I think you're looking at somebody that probably profiles a lot like Carmen Majinski and winds up in the bullpen where they can do that, and it doesn't matter that in 3 innings they're pooped. Now, they've got a lot of players that they're developing like that, so I'm not 100% sure that's what I'd like, but let's remind ourselves a little bit about what Oviedo was, too. It has been a long time. But in 2023, he was a workhorse. 2 10-strikeout games without a walk, a complete game shutout, and a consistent presence in the rotation. He's 6'6", 275. He's known for his intensity and competitiveness. And Don Kelly called him an elite competitor and emphasized the importance of him being healthy and confident. I'm excited to get Johan Oviedo back. A little tentative about what exactly they mean by him going a little bit less than max effort, a little bit concerned by how effective this can be if they're only going to let him go 5 innings most nights. He's a potential piece and anchor of this rotation in 2026, so the audition starts now. I can't wait to see it. Pirates are 7-3 in their last 10. They're coming off that wild series in Colorado. The Giants are 3-7 in their last 10. But they just took 2 of 3 from the Mets, and 3 of their losses came to the Pirates. So I would imagine they want payback, and that payback starts tonight. Oviedo versus Verlander, 2 pitchers on very different comeback paths. Verlander is 1-8 with a 4.53 ERA. He's looked a little better lately, but the Pirates just beat him last week. Can the Pirates keep their offensive momentum that they built in Colorado going? That might be the key to winning this series. Tonight's game is just another start for Johan Oviedo. It's a milestone that he's coming back, but it begins another audition for him. Fair or not, when you get injured in this league and you're out for an extended period of time, it's on you to earn your job back just as much as it was to earn it in the first place. And that's what we're going to get to watch him do. I'm excited to see it, honestly. It's been a long time since I got to watch his horse pitch. Up here, anyway. That's all I got for you today. We'll be back with a whole new episode tomorrow on Locked On Pirates. We'll talk a little bit about Johan Oviedo's start. And I think I'd like to talk a little bit about developing players in general, because this team continues to bring in prospects, and it seems to be the thing they fail at the most, getting them actually over the finish line and into the major leagues. What's going on there? We'll look at it tomorrow on Locked On Pirates.